Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to South London, where motorsport returns to the famous Crystal Palace Arena for the first time since the 1970s, and the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series returns to Britain for the first time since 2009 for the inaugural Spitfire 400. 22 of the Sprint Cup and Nationwide Series' finest drivers are going to be going head-to-head today on the 0.68 mile flat track here, the Crystal Palace Motor Speedway, built on the site of the old Crystal Palace racetrack. It's flat, it's supposedly single groove, which means there's going to be a lot of bumping and barging and paint swapping to get anywhere today. And in a season that, for me, has produced quite a bit of lackluster racing with the Gen 6, I am really excited, and I hope you are too. First, let's get things started with transatlantic superstar Hugh Laurie giving the command.
Hugh Laurie. Gentlemen, start your engines.
There we go.
You hear that? That's the sound of a lot of horsepower getting wound up and ready to do battle. So let's see how they'll roll off on the starting grid, presented by Lead Jammer Magazine and Elliot Henderson Graphics. Qualifying was rained out, so we're actually taking the starting positions from owner points 2/3 of the way through the season. And it still means Jimmy Johnson rolls off the pole. You can't get that man out of first place this year. Clint Boyle will be hoping to do so alongside him on row 1. Carl Edwards and Austin Dillon are on row 2. Dillon is on row 2 in 4th because he was 3rd in Nationwide owner points alongside Edwards 3rd in Sprint Cup points. Same is true for Regan Smith, who was 4th in Nationwide owner points, so he's alongside Kevin Harvick in his last drive in the 29. It's the best of friends on row 4, Kyle Busch and Dale Earnhardt Jr. They've never come together on a short track before, have they? Oh wait. 2013 runner-up Matt Kenseth and 2012 Sprint Cup champion Brad Keselowski hoping for better today after disappointing ends to the season. Greg Biffle and Martin Truex Jr. are on row 6. Truex Jr. had a difficult end to the season after all the controversy with Michael Waltrip Racing. Alain Menu is the guest driver today, subbing for Tony Stewart, the ex-touring car champion. He'll be alongside Casey Kane. And then we've got Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin in potentially Mark Martin's last ever Sprint Cup race. And remember, he also won the last time the Sprint Cup came to the UK in the Bex World 2009. Eric Almirola and Paul Menard are on row 9. Ahead of another potentially retiring Sprint Cup star, Jeff Burton, so I'll be very sad, he's my favourite driver. And Marcus Ambrose, the Aussie, will be alongside him. And on the final row is Denny Hamlin, who was of course injured in the middle of the season, hence why he's low in owner points, and Danica Patrick, who was always last, to be honest. Just like Jimmy Johnson was always first, Danica Patrick always last. Kind of how it goes, really. So there's the starting grid, presented by Lead Jammer Magazine and Elliot Henderson Graphics. So here's the race details for you. Not actually 400 laps, it's just 40, but that is still more than enough for some action. We've got up to 3 green, white checker attempts, and we've got some pit strategy because we've got qualifying tyres and small fuel tanks. The pit window is actually 25 to 30 laps, and they can take pit stops whenever they want, so expect some strategy to come into play. Look at that purse, $1,560,000. That is a lot of money to battle for. So ladies and gentlemen, I ask you one question. Are you ready to bring the noise? So amazingly, everyone makes it through the first lap intact as Jimmy Johnson leads away. Carl Edwards is battling for second intensely behind them. They are really going for it back in the back. And Austin Dillon, look at that, trying to work a high line that everyone said didn't exist, but he's trying to make it work alongside technically his teammate Kevin Harvick in the fellow Children's car. Look at them, they're going 3 wide. You can't do that, lads. You just can't do that. You can barely run side by side as it is. And then Kevin Harvick proves this entirely correct as he gets spun out. And we've got 2 more in the wall. We've got Kenseth and Keselowski in the wall as well. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. So let's take another look, shall we? Going down to turn 1 on lap 4, you see Austin Dillon trying to pinch Kevin Harvick down, trying to get some grip there, and you see he gets loose, and then Kyle Busch really can't help getting into him. I know everyone's going to be like, oh my god, it's beef between Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick again, but really, there was nothing he could do. And I honestly have no idea what happened between the other two. I think Kenseth locked the tyres, trying to avoid the wreck, and just pile drove straight into the wall, and took Keselowski with him. So it's a bit of a disaster, to be honest. So Kenseth has almost knocked himself out of contention straight away. There he goes, behind the wall, and they make repairs. I think the other two are slightly less damaged. There you go, there's Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski rejoining. So we're back underway on lap 9. Jimmy Johnson leads comfortably away, as he kind of has most of the season. Can anyone beat him today? Well, that is the question. Oh, well, Jeff Gordon's not going to beat him if he keeps pulling moves like that. He nearly gets spun by Alain Menu, who's getting right into the thick of things in his first ever NASCAR start, the ex-British touring car and World Touring Car star. And there's Austin Dillon tail sliding again. He really is working the high line. I think he thinks he's at a dirt track like Eldora, because that's how he's running this track. He's really running up against the wall, sliding it around, but it's doing well because he's moving up to second here on the outside of Carl Edwards. And but they're getting a bit of trouble there as Matt Kenseth's back out on the track, and he's very slow. So Austin Dillon falls back. Boyer moves back into second as you see the field stream by. Really gets a sense of the short nature of this track, because there you go, there's the end of the field, and there's the leader. So they're kind of chasing their tail around this track. It's a really, really short track. Battles all across the place. Dillon and Edwards are basically inseparable at the moment. Look at that. Marcus Ambrose trying to go 3 wide through there. That's really not possible. He's having a good duel with Jeff Gordon, and Regan Smith's caught up on the high side. He's really not sure what's going on. And look at that. Marcus Ambrose doing a sort of Sydney shuffle through there. It hasn't quite worked. He kind of understeered too much, but he kind of cut down to the inside in the first few corners. It hasn't really worked because Jeff Gordon's been able to cross under. So that's an interesting move. We'll see if we'll deploy that later. As they go side by side for the final few corners. Still really good battling here going on. It's about to come to a premature end as Greg Biffle brings out the second caution. And that looked like a straightforward tyre going down, to be honest. Let's have another look here. But yeah, there you go. No turning at all. Straight into the wall. I'm pretty sure that's a tyre going down. We've seen that happen a few times this year with the Gen 6. And as you can see, he's been dragged into the pits. Matt Kenseth gets a few more repairs. And Keselowski and Harvick also pit in as well, making some more repairs to their cars to keep them competitive in the race. And so we're going to go for the restart here at lap 23. We've moved just over halfway in the race. Some people at the tail end of the field have made pit stops, so this is going to make it interesting. And they are determined not to let Jimmy Johnson get away again on this restart. As the sun is starting to go down, the intensity seems to have picked up here. And look at them, Clint Boyer and Kyle Busch really putting a lot of pressure on Jimmy Johnson. They're determined to not let him get away. And this could go horribly wrong, and it has. And they've all piled up out of turn 2. And Jimmy Johnson in one fell swoop is in the wall and what looks like out. In fact, the top 3 in the race are all out, as well as Martin Truex Jr. and Austin Dillon. That was a huge wreck. And it was getting a bit intense, and you really can't go 3 wide round here. Kyle Busch, no one's told him that. But I don't think it was anyone's fault, really. I think they just wadded up. Yeah, you see Jimmy Johnson drift out. He gets into Clint Boyer, smack round. Edwards spins round. Poor old Truex Jr. has had absolute shocking luck this year with a team that are stinking cheats and a sponsor that's left him. And now he's been wiped out by Carl Edwards. And Austin Dillon was also caught up in that, so he looks the least damaged of all of them. So he might be all right here. I'm not sure, but there you go. Truex Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards all got the hook. They are all out of the race along with Greg Biffle. So with those guys suddenly knocked out, this race suddenly got a hell of a lot more interesting. Oh, wait, no it didn't, because now this being the British summertime, we've got a rain shower. So, as you can see from this shot from outside our studio, it is absolutely bucketing down. But luckily, this being the British summertime, the shower should go away fairly soon, so we should get the jet dryers out and we should be underway fairly soon. I'll just do a casual bit of time skipping to make it seem like a few seconds. There you go, 2 hours of rain delay gone in a jiffy. So we're getting ready to restart here, and everyone on the lead lap is pitting in. But as I said, there are a few people who pitted in earlier, so they will not be taking 4 tyres. So Kyle Busch will go in with the lead, but Denny Hamlin will come out with the lead. There you see Kyle Busch, he will restart 5th or 6th, because he was the first guy to take 4 tyres, but the others took 2 or maybe none. So we are getting ready to restart at lap 31 of 40 in what potentially could be the last restart. Although this being a tiny little short track, I highly doubt that somehow. So here we go, we're back underway. Denny Hamlin now leads. Mark Martin is up to 2nd. Where the hell did he come from? And Danica Patrick 3rd from last. What the hell? She's not last for one thing. That should be surprising enough. But thanks to that pit strategy, it's really mixed the field up. And we're going to see some good racing here as the laps tick down. 32, 33. We've now got only 8 laps to go. Denny Hamlin hanging in there, but now he's hanging it out wide, and Mark Martin is sneaking up the inside, and Mark Martin is looking for a record that no one else holds, a sweep of victories in the UK. But now Danica Patrick is looking for a win, just any sort of win, to be honest. She has had a miserable season in NASCAR, and all of a sudden she's leading here in the Spitfire 400 with 6 laps to go. I can scarcely believe I'm saying this. Danica Patrick is leading. Do not adjust your set. And now Clint Boyer's spun again, probably to try and get a caution out for his teammate, I'll speculate. But he's going to get the caution anyway. Oh my God, I told you it wouldn't be the last restart, would I? Casey Kane and Eric Almirola have bundled up in turn 1, and Clint Boyer was trying to get the caution. He's going to get the caution anyway. There he is, sitting in the turn, probably just was like, oh, my tyre's gone down again. Oh dear. So I don't think they were going to bring out the caution for him anyway. But then Casey Kane got into Eric Almirola, spun up into turn 1, hard into the turn 1 wall, probably tank slapped. And they had no option. And that is not what Danica Patrick wanted to see. She wanted this race to go green near the end because she was starting to eke out a nice advantage. But she is now going to have to scrap and fight for her very life in order to claim that coveted first ever NASCAR Sprint Cup victory. So let's see how they'll line up on this first attempt at green-white checker. As the pace car comes in, Danica Patrick leads Mark Martin in his last ever Sprint Cup race, potentially. Marcus Ambrose right behind them on row 2 with Denny Hamlin. And then the first of the guys who took 4 tyres on the last pit stop, Kyle Busch, is alongside Paul Menard in 6th. It's the pair of Jeffs behind them, Jeff Burton and Jeff Gordon. Jeff Burton in his last race with Richard Childress. Behind them it's Dale Jr. and Regan Smith in a Dale Jr. owned car. Alan Menu just inside the top 10 behind them with Austin Dillon with a beaten up car. And then behind them it's Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick. Stand by your beds, hold the phones, pull their belts tight. This is going to go off. Here we go. We've got 2 laps to settle it, potentially. And they're already going 3 wide for the first corner. A massive pack is building up there. But Danica Patrick, this will suit her down to the ground. Coming through to the white flag then. Marcus Ambrose tries the Sydney Shuffle one more time, but he can't get the nose in there. But just enough of a nudge. He's put Danica Patrick wide. Can Marcus Ambrose snatch it? He has! I don't believe it. Has he done that? Oh. I have no idea how he did that at the end. That was unbelievable stuff from the Aussie to deny Danica Patrick at the flag. Patrick had a healthy lead coming to take the white flag. And we saw here, he does the Sydney Shuffle one more time, cutting down low in the inside of 1 and 2. He couldn't quite get the nose in there, but a little bit of contact down the back suddenly nudged Patrick up the track. The door was open. Marcus Ambrose barged the door down and snatches the victory by less than a third of a car length to take his first ever NASCAR Oval Sprint Cup victory. You can put to bed the whole things of, oh, he's only a threat on the road courses. He's now won a NASCAR race on an oval. But I never thought I'd say this. You have to tip your hat to Danica Patrick. She drove a fantastic race today and was just millimetres away from a potential first ever Sprint Cup victory. But today she showed she's got enough skills to pay the bills and mix it with the big boys. So there's the final results. Marcus Ambrose wins ahead of Danica Patrick. Kyle Busch fights back to third. He had a very consistent race, to be honest. Jeff Burton in his last race with Richard Childress, 4th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. grabs the top 5. Mark Martin in his potentially his last Sprint Cup race, 6th. And you got Jeff Gordon 7th, and Austin Dillon just pipped Regan Smith in the battle of the nationwide drivers in 8th and 9th. Paul Menard grabs a solid top 10 in 10th. Then behind them it's Brad Keselowski, who did a good job with a beaten up car. And then Alan Menu did a solid job guest driving in replace of the injured Tony Stewart. Then Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin had a tyre go down, so he finishes last out of all the lead lap cars. And behind them were all the drivers who didn't make the finish. Casey Kane, Eric Almirola, Clint Boyer was actually black flagged after his caution stunt. And from there on in, really. So, as Marcus Ambrose concludes his victory burnout, I have to take a breath, and I'm heading to the bar for a stiff drink because I think I really need it. I have really enjoyed today's race, and I hope you guys have too. It has been an absolute belter in a season where the Gen 6 has sometimes produced some pretty off racing. When you get them down on a short track, they really do come alive, and that's the essence of true NASCAR racing, to be honest. And it has produced an absolutely belting race here today. It's proven that Jimmy Johnson isn't quite as invincible as people think. It's proven that Danica Patrick can actually mix it with the boys, and that Marcus Ambrose is more than just a threat on the road courses. It's been an absolute pleasure commentating on this race today. It's been a really fun race. I hope you've enjoyed it. I have been Adam Johnson for Team Bomber Sports TV. This has been the Spitfire AL400 at the Crystal Palace Motor Speedway. It's been absolutely brilliant. Thanks for being along for the ride, and I'll see you again very, very soon, hopefully. Take care and goodbye.